How you start your conference, retreat, or meeting sets the tone for the entire thing. Let's learn how to start conversations that grab everyone's attention. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 reasons you should consider opening with a question and curated conversation the next time you have a conference or convention. And then I'm going to give you 5 questions you can use to really up-level your next big gathering. Hey there, my name is Josh Friberg, and I'm an Exchange certified guide. I work as a transformational MC for conferences, retreats, and other types of gatherings where people get together and meet. We really specialize in taking the learning from passive to active, helping people connect by moving the learning off the stage and onto the floor, and by inviting everyone to not just be an individual, but part of a community. In this video, I want to share with you a different way to open a conference and why it is really important to use questions and curated conversations to get there. Hey, if you would like more content about how to run better meetings, better conferences, better retreats, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. That's what we do here, and working on getting a video or two out every week. The fact is that there are hundreds of thousands of meetings every day, and most of them stink. Most of them are terrible. But there's a way to do better, much better meetings. And today we're going to talk about how using a great question and a curated conversation can get you there. Well, I want you to think about a conference you've been to before. Maybe it was a small conference, under 100 people. Maybe it was mid-size, several hundred or even 1,000 people, or maybe it was huge, 10,000 people. But what is the common way that you've seen that everybody opens that event? Right? They always open it up with what I call laser lights and smoke machines. Now, sometimes it is quite literally laser lights and smoke machines, but other times it's just sort of what's like the biggest, flashiest, most entertaining thing that we can do. And I know why people do that, right? They're trying to get the energy up, they're trying to get the excitement up. But the unintended consequence right out of the gate is they are communicating you, the participant, you in the audience, are here to be entertained, right? Have I not entertained you? Yeah, that's what we're telling people is that, hey, this is going to be entertaining. Maybe you'll learn something. So maybe it'll be infotaining. But either way, you're just a passive observer to what we're going to be doing up on stage. Well, there's this thing in the conference world right now that everybody's talking about, which is audience engagement. But you can't tell people sit passively and consume in one breath and then say be engaged in the next breath. By the way, here's the other problem with that. You are quite literally competing against Hollywood, Vegas, Cirque du Soleil when you choose entertainment and flash to open your conference. People go, oh, I've been to this before. I understand what a performance looks like. Problem is, you're never going to be able to compete at that place. So why do we recommend opening with a question? Because when we open with a question, the first thing we do is we shift that and we invite participation. We say, hey, this isn't actually going to be about you sitting passively. And instead, we are going to invite participation and say, you are a full participant in this event. We are going to learn as much from you as you learn from us. Right? And we actually engage the audience because we give them something to engage in, an activity to do. As part of this invitation to participate, we also are letting go of control, right? And by the way, this makes events so much easier because people don't like being controlled. They don't, particularly if you're doing events here in the US, Americans hate being told what to do. Tell us what to do. And so invariably, you're going to end up with back row sitters. You're going to end up with, right, the back of the bus troublemakers. They don't want to be told what to do. I want to do it my way. And so you're constantly going to be doing what people call herding cats. If instead you invite participation and people go, oh, I'm invited, I can choose to be there. Now I'm not being told what to do. I'm making a full autonomous choice to be part of this conference. So the first reason to open with a question is it invites real participation. Second reason to open with a question is that it models how learning and transformation actually happen. Think about this. Think about the last time you went to a performance of something. Now, you may have had like a really emotional reaction to it. You may have laughed, you may have cried, you may have been inspired, whatever it is. But almost invariably, you weren't changed by it. You weren't transformed by it. When do you get transformed? You get transformed when you are having coffee with a friend and the conversation, you start mulling over something and really thinking about something, right? You have transformation when you hear and learn something new, and then you have time to reflect on it, chew on it, and say, this is how I'm going to put it into action and actually make decisions in community. That's how transformation actually happens. It doesn't happen passively. It happens actively. So when we open with a question, we're saying, hey, you are going to be transformed because you're going to be involved in conversations where you're going to be asking questions, responding to questions, and actually interacting with the material and content. And there's a third reason, and this one's a little bit interesting, which is when you open with a question, you've just shifted the burden of whether or not this is going to be a good event. Think about your typical conference. People come in, and among other things, they're asking, did I get a value for my money? I paid a lot of money to be here. I flew here. I packed my bags. I took time off work. Is this worth it? Is this worth the thousands of dollars and days that I've invested? And so they're sitting back, judging everything that happens. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. They're evaluating, they're making a judgment on whether or not this is a good use of their time. What criteria are they using? Who knows what criteria each individual? If you're at a conference of 10,000 people, there's 10,000 reasons for what makes a good conference, what makes it effective. And now you have this jury sitting in front of you determining whether or not your event is good. And so that becomes really nerve-wracking. It means the performance level has to be like super high, right? This is why we're always like, man, but we all know we're going to disappoint a third of the people that are here. You know, a third are going to think it's great. No, like, why would we do that? When you open with a question, you shift the burden from like, hey, we're not here to entertain you. We're not here to make sure you get everything that you want out of this. You need to get everything you want out of this conference. What we're going to do is we're going to put a menu in front of you. And then it's your responsibility to find what you're looking for among the menu. We're here to create an environment where you have the possibility of finding what you're looking for. And this happens all the time in conferences, by the way. In fact, go talk to 10 people right now about the last conference they attended and what was the most impactful thing. And 9 out of 10 of them are going to say, well, I had this conversation in the hallway, right? Not what happened on stage, right? I've seen some of the biggest speakers you've ever heard of, right? On stage, I've been in those rooms. I've introduced great speakers, all of these things, and they're great. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. But what I hear from the people who attend these conferences is what really matters is what happens when the speakers stop talking and when they actually get to speak with other industry leaders, other like-minded people, other thinkers in their space, the people who understand their unique job. When we open up with a question, we shift the burden onto our participants that they need to get the most out of their conference. And in a second, I'm going to share with you a couple questions that really do that well. As part of that shifting of the burden, a couple really cool things happen. One is that we demonstrate risk. Like, hey, we're going to take a risk with you because we're giving up control in the first few minutes of like say a 3-day conference. We're demonstrating that risk, which now they go, oh, okay, like we need to be trustworthy to the risk that they're taking with it. They're entrusting us with this. We now need to be trustworthy. And we're allowing them to create connection between each other. And when all of a sudden the the burden of getting what you want out of this event is actually connecting peer to peer with the people next to you, well, now you have to be engaged as a participant. You have to show up. You have to do your part. You have to be a good conversation partner, a good connecting partner with the other people in the room. And just this simple act of opening with a question does that. It does that in big rooms. It does that in small rooms. If you're leading a classroom of 20 people through a workshop, same thing, right? You're demonstrating that we're here to learn together and you have a role to play, not simply to just file in, sit down, be quiet, pay attention, file out, get your box lunch, come back, right? No, you're going to be active in this event. Well, let me give you 5 questions that I think are really powerful for opening any type of event, workshop, conference, or retreat. And I'm going to break down a little bit about why these questions work, why they're so helpful. And the first question, this is our foundational question that I very first learned when I first experienced Exchange back in 2019. The Exchange approach, this different way of doing meetings that really elevates everybody in the room and unlocks the knowledge and the wisdom and the intelligence in the room. And it does it really fast. And it does it with any number of people. The first question, and it's one that we kind of base all the others off of, is this: why is it important that you choose to be here today? Why is it important that you choose to be here today? I love this question, and the simplicity of it is in a few of the words that are selected in there. The first is that why is it important? You know, as I mentioned before, you've got 10,000 reasons represented that people are there. And we have one job, which is to find out what that is. But of course, we can't do it. We can't walk around and ask everybody what their one reason for being there is. Instead, what we can do is we can bring it to the surface within their consciousness, within their, bring it from subconscious to conscious. So now they can go, oh yeah, this is why it's important that I be here. I want to improve my business. I want to improve my relationships. I want to get better at, I don't know, whatever it is that your conference is about. It's important that I be here. That's why I spent the money, the time, and the effort to get here. And now it's like, oh, now it's on me to make sure that I do something about that. All right. What else is going on in this question? It's choose. There's a point during an event, during a retreat, during a meeting, when people go from like, oh, I want to be there to I have to be there, right? Maybe they stay up too late the first night, and the second morning they're like, oh, I have to be there at 9 a.m. Well, no, you don't have to do anything. Would you instead choose to be here today, right? To be here. And we'll often add things to this question where we say, why is it important for you, for your family, for your customers, for your business, for your relationships, for your community, for the world? So you can think about it on a lot of different like spheres and a lot of different like scales. It's a great question. The next question I really enjoy opening with, particularly if you're with any type of learning community, a group that's really committed to growing or learning around a topic, is to say, whatever the event is about, right? What is one important thing that you've learned about, right, insert topic, in the last 3 months? What's one important thing that you've learned? Here's why this question is so important. One, it gets everyone oriented around what is the thing we all have in common, right? So we're going to name it into the room. What is the one important thing that you've learned about model railroading in the last 3 months, right? What's the one important thing that you've learned about insurance sales in the last 3 months? Whatever it might be. The other thing is that it's a reminder that learning is an act, right? That you have to choose to learn. You have to be willing to take in new information, to have your worldview shifted by small amounts or big amounts. You have to actively seek out this information and this learning, right? And then you have to notice that you actually learned it. By priming it that way, right? People go, "Oh yeah, I've learned before. I can now learn in this meeting." Maybe it's a 60-minute sales meeting that you're holding, or a leadership meeting, or it's the, the gathering of the committee for putting on the bake sale, whatever it is. What is one important thing that you've learned primes them to then go, "Oh yeah, and I can continue to learn here." Here's the other great thing this question does is when you then turn that into conversations between people, right? Between the different people that are there, you go, "Oh my gosh, there's so much intelligence in this room." By the way, you get affirmed for what you learned, what you shared, and you hear from someone else go, "Oh my gosh, that was brilliant." And you realize, and then you look around the room and you realize there's dozens or hundreds or thousands of people around you, and all of them are sharing their knowledge and what they've learned. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of learning available in this room. Whatever thing I'm looking for, I bet you I can find it here. Great question. What have you learned? Next question. This is a great aspirational question. It's sometimes called future pacing. But I would say, and I'll just do it for the event. Let's say our event is 3 days long. This is a really common, 2.5-day retreat, 3-day retreat. Imagine it's 3 days from now. Imagine it's Sunday afternoon. You're headed to the airport to fly home. And this has been the best conference ever. What will have happened that caused it to be the best conference ever for you? What will have happened that will cause it to be the best conference ever for you? This future pacing exercise, right, helps people imagine an ideal future and then take actions to get to it. What's so cool about this goes back to what I was talking about earlier. We shift the burden to the participants. Hey, you want something? Get it. We have this amazing environment for you to get what you're looking for, right? What will have made this a great conference? I don't know what you need out of this conference. I don't know what she needs out of this conference. I don't know what that person needs out of this conference. But by asking what will make it a great conference for you, you now have the freedom to make that happen, right? And in other videos, I'll be talking about how we give people autonomy in our gatherings, but this is an important step. It's difficult as the convener of the event, as the MC of the event, as the host of the event to say, am I really going to let go of control of the event? Don't I have to provide value? Yeah, you provide value by creating an environment where people can go get the value that they want. All right, let's move on to the next question. The next question, and this is kind of a variation of what we just talked about, but I call this the scavenger hunt question. And the scavenger hunt question is, what are you looking for in this conference? It is something that is as true as can be, the truth of the universe, truth of the world, whatever you call it, that you find what you're looking for. You find what you're looking for. So by asking people, what are you looking for at this conference? You actually, first of all, as we talked about earlier, help raise it from the level of subconscious to conscious. And then, like we talked about the previous question, you give people permission to go looking for it, right? And now they've got their eyes tuned to see what they're looking for. And if it starts getting to like day 2 of the conference and they haven't found it yet, guess what? They start going, I'm not going to go to this breakout that doesn't apply to me because I still need to find what I'm looking for. I'm looking to make a great connection who can help me, right? Create systems for my administrative team. Or I was looking to meet someone else who's doing really terrific marketing in the space. Or I'm looking to get a mentor to help me with my parenting. Okay, great. Go find it. It changes the questions that they ask. It changes the conversations that they have. All right. And then here's a last one. I really enjoy this question a lot. And I'll say, hey, think of a time when you were at another event, maybe like this one, another type of meeting, a gathering, a retreat, a conference. It could have been like this one, right? Like if you're at a professional conference, it could have been another professional conference, or you could say, or we're at a professional conference, it could be another type of conference, right? Maybe you were at Comic-Con, I don't know. But think of an event that you were at that was amazing. An event that you look back at and go, I wish I could go to another event like that. And here's the most important question I want to ask you. How did you show up to that event? What was your part that made that event so great? How did you show up? And if you could, distill that down to one word. What we're going to do after that is put them into a conversation with another person where they talk about that conference they were at that was so amazing. And they say, oh, I showed up and I was curious. I showed up and I was engaged. I showed up and I was questioning. I showed up and I was alert. I was, whatever it is. And then what I'll do is I'll invite them to grab like their event notebook and open it up to the first page and write that word down in big letters. And if at any point during our conference they feel themselves drifting, they feel themselves not fully paying attention, I'll say, look at that word and allow that word to bring you back present to the conference. Listen, if you are convening a conference, if you're the host, MC, a speaker, it's not all on you to make sure that it goes perfectly. Some of that is actually up to our participants. You can have two people listen to the same speaker and one say it was great and one say it was terrible. And more often than not, it's the state of the listener that causes that difference. What we can do is we can actually prime our audiences to no longer be passive consumers, but actually to be full participants in the event. How do we elevate events and make them really exceptional? One quick way to do it is move away from smoke and mirrors and instead start conversations that grab attention. Hey, I hope you found this helpful, and I want to invite you to answer one last question. Jump down in the comments and tell me about one of the best questions you've ever received at a meeting, a retreat, or a conference.